Hook. Picture a 10-year-old calmly disagreeing with an adult. Not shouting, not sulking, just looking them in the eye and saying, "I don't think that's right." In many parts of the world, we have a word for that. We call it talking back. In the Netherlands, they call it Tuesday. Because Dutch children are raised to be both seen and heard, and the result is striking. Dutch kids are repeatedly ranked the happiest in the world and among the most self-assured. They speak their minds. They question adults. They rarely seem shy. So where does that confidence actually come from? It isn't a parenting trick. It's something much deeper, built into how an entire country sees children. Part 1. The confidence you can see. Spend a day around Dutch kids and you notice it immediately. They make eye contact with adults. They share opinions without being asked twice. They call their teacher not sir or madam, but by his first name. Meet Sanne. She's 10. When she thinks her teacher made a mistake, she says so, politely but plainly, and nobody gasps. This isn't arrogance, it's something quieter and stronger. A child who feels like an equal, not a subordinate. The question is, how does a whole country raise kids who feel that way? Part 2. A country that barely looks up. To understand Dutch confidence, you have to understand one invisible thing about Dutch culture. Researchers measure something called power distance. Basically, how much a society expects people to defer to those above them. On that scale, the Netherlands sits very low. It means hierarchy exists for convenience, not for worship. A boss isn't a superior being. A teacher isn't someone to fear. And a child is not simply someone who should be quiet. In high power distance cultures, the most important thing a child learns is respect. In the Netherlands, it's closer to independence. So from the very beginning, Dutch kids aren't taught to look up at adults. They're taught to look across at them. Part 3. A voice that starts at the dinner table. That equality shows up first at home. Across the Netherlands, families sit down to eat together and nobody starts until everyone, children included, is at the table. Every person counts. In fact, Dutch children eat breakfast with their families more regularly than kids almost anywhere else on earth. But it's not just that they sit together, it's what happens when they do. Children are asked what they think. Their opinions are genuinely listened to, and they're allowed to disagree. So picture Sanne at dinner, arguing, calmly, about why she should be allowed to bike to her friend's house alone. Her parents don't shut it down. They debate her as if her view actually matters. Because to them, it does. A child who is listened to thousands of times slowly becomes a child who believes their voice is worth something. Part 4. Confidence built on trust. The second ingredient is trust, and the Dutch hand it over early. Take the bicycle. Long before kids in many countries are allowed to cross a street alone, Dutch children are pedaling to school by themselves. It looks small. It isn't. Every solo bike ride is a quiet message from parent to child. I trust you. You can do this yourself. Dutch parents deliberately let children make their own choices and their own mistakes without rushing in to fix everything. And here's the thing about confidence. You can't really teach it with words. It's built, one small responsibility at a time, until a child simply assumes they're capable. By the time Sanne is 10, she's navigated streets, weather, and small failures on her own 1,000 times. Of course she's confident. She's had years of proof. Part 5. The freedom to be good enough. There's one more piece, and it's the one other countries find hardest to copy. In much of the world, childhood is a competition. Be the best, top of the class, never fall behind. Dutch culture is famously relaxed about all that. There's even a gentle saying that a solid, good enough grade is perfectly fine. Not being the best isn't treated as failure. Repeating a year isn't treated as shame. And that takes an enormous weight off a child's shoulders, because confidence doesn't grow well in fear. A kid who's terrified of every mistake learns to stay small, stay quiet, stay safe. But a kid who's allowed to be imperfect, to try, to fail, to shrug, and to try again, grows up unafraid to take up space. That's the quiet secret underneath Dutch confidence. It isn't pressure, it's permission.
Part 6. But it's not for everyone.
Now, let's be honest. This kind of confidence has a flip side. That famous Dutch directness. To outsiders, it can feel blunt, even rude. Just say what you think, sounds wonderful, until you're on the receiving end of it. And a culture this relaxed about achievement does worry, at times, about whether it pushes its most talented kids hard enough. So this isn't a perfect formula to copy wholesale. But it does leave the rest of us with a genuinely uncomfortable question. Ending. We often say we want confident children, but then we ask them to be quiet, to not argue, to respect authority, to not make mistakes, to wait until they're older to finally have a voice. The Dutch did something different. They didn't try to teach confidence. They simply gave children the conditions to grow it themselves. A voice, some trust, and the freedom to be imperfect. So maybe the real question isn't, how do we make our kids more confident? Maybe it's, what are we doing that quietly makes them less?